Maybe.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to the Fight Like Hell podcast, episode 53. We're coming to you on a very special episode. It's a Wednesday, April 6th, 2022, in case you're listening to us in the year 2097. First, we want to get into our promotion where we have our number one sponsor, Invicta Coffee. Invicta Coffee is a veteran owned coffee company that does all different types of amazing coffees. And the best part about them is they actually take a portion of their proceeds and give it towards mental health for veterans. If you want to go over there and check out any of their coffee and you would like to get a discount on it, please use the promo code Fight Like Hell, all one word, and you will receive some off. And they also are working with our guests of the podcast. Austin, would you do the honors of introducing our guests?
Yeah, so we have a very special person on here that we connected with, and it's Chad from Sisterdale Distilling. How's it going, Chad?
Hello, gents.
So, Chad, why don't you briefly tell our listeners about you and about Sisterdale, and just give them an idea who you are and what Sisterdale is.
Sure. Yeah. So again, thanks for having me on. And I'm a fifth generation native Texan. I live in Houston, Texas, and my business partner and best friend, similar situation to you guys, I think. Peter Watson's his name. We got together and our kids were getting through high school and junior high and started looking at sort of, what are we going to do the second half of our life? And we both have, day jobs. He's a lawyer in the oil and gas and VC world. And I do artificial intelligence software and venture capital startups. And so we got together and we have a couple other little things that we do entrepreneur wise. But we decided we wanted to, create something that, has been around since prostitution and gambling and is alcohol. And so, it's like the worst thing you can ever do is create something that's already super commoditized, right? It's been around forever. And so we said, hey, let's go do that. So, so that's our backstory. We started in 2018, I think, and then got our company formed around 2019, and then spent about a year and a half to 2 years getting all of our stuff in order. We can get into all the regulations and the guys, ATF and TTB,
all that fun stuff,
ABC, and and in Texas, when you're a couple of guys, with a bunch of properties and trying to put a barn up with some hill, and the ATF tends to sometimes question that, especially in Texas. We've had a history of that not working out so well.
I figured Texas would be the most easiest place.
Yeah, so we put our shingle up and started working, and we can get into all of it. But that's who I am. We both live in Houston, but we operate our distillery on my business partner's. His sister's is married into a family that has, a 1,200 acre cattle ranch, which in Texas is sort of considered medium. We went out there and we got with the family. They happen to be sitting in the hill country in a little town called Sisterdale, Texas. There's two creeks, East Creek and West Sister Creek, that merge into what's called the Guadalupe River, which is one of the biggest, cleanest, most tubable river in Texas. And it's out there in the hill country between San Antonio and Austin. It just so happens to be sitting on an aquifer that's called the Edwards Aquifer. And that aquifer is a heavy limestone aquifer, which is almost the exact same makeup as Kentucky. And the climate in the Texas Hill Country also happens to be very similar to the makeup of Kentucky. So you actually have climates that go up and down. They climb, not just like in Houston where it's just hot and sweaty and then freezing and then hot and sweaty for 10 and a half months. And so that aquifer, that water that's really pure out there is where all the Texas distilleries and wineries sit. So we're on the Texas Whiskey Trail. There's probably 30 distilleries within 20 miles of us in any direction. We've got people in every direction of us that are out there doing similar stuff and doing some great Texas bourbon.
Is the Whiskey Vault out near you guys?
The Whiskeyville?
The Whiskey Vault?
The Whiskey Vault. I don't know.
I know they're just out of Austin. So
is it a bar? Or it's not a distillery.
No, they have. So they have Crowded Barrel Distilling.
Okay, yeah, Crowded Barrel. Yes, they're in Dripping Springs. So, that's all within 20, 30 miles. So you guys may have heard of Lukenbach, Texas, which is where Willie Nelson and all Johnny Cash and all them used to hide out. That's 8 miles up the river from us, so. But what I was going to say a minute ago is the little town of Sisterdale is population probably 10. There's a winery in there, which is an old grist mill. There's a fire department. There's a dance hall. And a couple of residents, and that's about it. But Dale means river valley. So Sisterdale, the reason they called it that town is that because it sits right in the middle of those two creeks that run right into the Guadalupe River. And so we're in that little bluff there, in that little valley, and our place is about 1.5 miles up the creek from the creek that runs right behind the town of Sisterdale, which is Sister Creek. So that's what we're doing. So we operate we run our business out of Houston. So we sort of say suits in Houston and boots in Sisterdale. So we do all our distilling, aging, all that out there.
That's awesome. And we actually really look forward to getting into all the details on this, just because a lot of our listeners, including one of the co-hosts, actually enjoys bourbon, which I think all three of us have in front of us now. So I'm thinking it's only honorary that we should pour our first glasses, and then we'll get into some weekend adventures.
I'm on my thirds, but yeah, we can pretend this.
Okay, we can pretend. Rob needs to stay on one because we'll explain why.
Well, this is what I'm hearing about. I'm hearing about Austin though not being a bourbon guy, and so that's what I've been waiting to have this conversation, because
that's fine.
You're a clear liquor guy, which is fine, but let's talk about that a little bit.
That's fine. So I've been drinking your bourbon. I think this is my fourth glass of it.
Okay.
From since you sent me the bottle, and it's actually
I've already finished almost 2 bottles.
Okay, continue.
Okay, but I mean it's a lot better than anything else I've tried, and it's super smooth. Like there's no burning. Like when you first take your sip, your throat burns going down. So like I could drink this and have no issues.
Good. Well, that's the idea. So the North Star that we use, us not being master distillers, my last name's not Beam or Daniels or any of those. And so when you get into the bourbon business or any business, it's sort of like, especially restaurants and any of these sort of consumable products, people get in and go, well, just because I go to a restaurant and I can eat a steak, I should be able to run a restaurant. And just because I'm, born alcoholic and drink a lot of alcohol doesn't mean that I should be able to run a distillery. So the way that what we did is we set up our business, Pete and I, as running the infrastructure. Well, before I get into that, what I'd say is the opposite's true as well, which is just because you know how to cook a really good steak, it doesn't mean you have any business sense and know how to run a restaurant. That's why they have the front of the house and the back of the house. So our distilling company, if you notice, our name is Sisterdale Distilling Co. It's not Sisterdale Distillery. We are a distilling company. And what our deal is we really know how to, run the business, run supply chain, raise money, marketing, branding, all of that sort of stuff that a lot of distillers have no idea. They're just chefs. And so we wanted to build this sort of executive kitchen, and then we can plug and play our different, distillers, chefs for different pieces. So, and the chef's name's not on the building. It doesn't say Emeralds. So if Emerald ever leaves that restaurant, it's just a building. But if Emerald leaves, there goes the name. So we didn't want to be held up, to a distiller that, that if they ever got sideways or we didn't like them, we wanted to do a different product that they're not deep in, that we can just sort of do different distilling companies that we can plug and play. And so that's what we did, which is a very unique approach, and us coming from the venture capital world, both my partner and I, we both sort of run this as a profitable business. So we don't even, I'll get into all the finances of it, but the way we actually reward our, few employees that we do have is we pay them when we're profitable on their products. So our distiller makes our product, and we actually give him equity and give him, money and whatnot whenever we turn a profit on that batch. So everybody's in it working like it's a software company or a startup company where we're all in together, and we either make money together or we starve together, one of the two. And so that's kind of how we run the business, which is a unique way where most distilleries start out with a distiller who then has a recipe, who then looks to cook it, but then has to go find people to go to market. And that's where a lot of them fail. And so we kind of came
because
the opposite
they
way.
have no idea how to promote it. They have no idea how to get it out there.
No.
They could have the best
That's
product in the world, but
That's right.
they don't know how to get it in front of people.
That's right. You have the best product in the world, but if nobody knows about it, who cares? You're
Exactly.
still just a guy with a recipe that nobody knows about.
And a
So
lot of them don't want to be in front of people. They don't like, getting up in front of people and talking. They just kind of want to hide and do their own thing, and then they don't want to be out in front of it. So then
that's right.
Yeah. So
yeah, our head distiller actually has a non-disclosure with us, so a confidentiality. So we're not. He doesn't even want his name out in anything. So which is pretty cool. People keep trying to figure out who he is. The people are searching around. There's only so many distillers in Texas,
especially in. And that's with any profession, though. They want to know who you're using, what you're using, like how can they do the same exact thing but better. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, so that's good. So let's get into the next thing, which is Mr. Rob over there. Let's talk about your weekend, Rob, and what happened.
All right, so weekend adventures, I guess we're going into. Austin, we know you did nothing. Chad will definitely get into your story here in a minute, but yeah, I had an eventful weekend that went from awesome to kind of broken really fast. So I was in a Wounded Warrior hockey tournament down in Allen, Texas, which is near Dallas. I was out there on a brand new team called the Nomads, which is a team that's comprised of Wounded Warriors from all over the USA. And instead of having a city or a state that we represent the whole entire nation. And it's a great program. It's a handful of guys that I've already skated with. I knew like 70% of the team. We did really well in the tournament. As typical ways that I've explained on the podcast before, I have done well at getting to championships, but I typically lose the championship. I think this was my 7th or 8th attempt in the last 5 years to win a championship. And we went all the way to the championship. We were in the 3rd game. I played decent throughout the weekend. But in the championship game, there was a guy who was just like doing cheap shots to people. We had played them in a round robin game 2 or 3 games earlier. He did a couple cheap shots on me. He did a couple cheap shots on other players. He wasn't getting any penalties. We were in the 3rd period. We're up 6-2. So at this point, I'm pretty confident that we're going to win the game. And I'm screening the goalie. I'm in front of the goalie as a center. And he decides to take his stick and jam it into my back as hard as he can. So that pissed me off because, there's ways that you can move a forward out of the area without using your stick. You're not supposed to use your stick at all. I looked at the ref. The ref didn't call it. So I circled around in a cycle. And then when I came through, I put a shoulder into him. And I said, hey, motherfucker, it's Warrior hockey. What the fuck are you doing? We're not like technically a hitting league. Like we're not even supposed to really fight that much either. Like Warrior hockey is about aggressive hockey, but team camaraderie because you're playing against a bunch of other disabled vets. So you're pretty much family on and off the ice. Tempers flare, especially in the championship game. So him and I kind of went back and forth, said a bunch of fucked up things to each other. One of the last things I told him when I was like skating down the ice with him was like, hey, check the fucking scoreboard, which, pissed him the fuck off because they're losing. They're more than likely going to lose the game at this point. And that's when he like just stopped right around our goalie and asked if I wanted to go. And I was like, listen, man, fuck that. And then he pushed me. So I was like, okay, we can fucking go. So I grabbed him. He grabbed me. We started getting ready to go at it. And out of nowhere, I get just clocked in the face by someone else who wasn't even a part of the fight. And as I got clocked in the face, I also got pulled down. So the 3 of us fell. And it went from like, I don't know if you can see it anymore. Like it's healed up a little bit, but I had like a little bit of a black and blue mark from where my visor hit my nose. As I'm going down to my face is in a little bit of pain because I got sucker punched. All of a sudden, I just feel my ankle crack, pop, and snap. And I went into excruciating pain in the ankle because my fibula, tibia, and some other bone down there, all 3 of them got broke because when we went down, the players fell on me. The guy who sucker punched me was probably like 6'4", 240, maybe 260 pounds. The guy I was trying to fight was probably about like 180, 190 and my height. So I might have stood a chance against him. And it's bullshit because typically, like in fights, especially on the ice, it's supposed to be one-on-one. You're not supposed to jump in. The only way you usually jump in is if you're trying to separate your players and you don't want them to get in the fight. We're already up. So like me getting a penalty wouldn't have been the end of the world. But instead, like it kind of went a little bit haywire. People fell on me. I broke my ankle and had to be taken off the ice. However, I sat around and waited for the game to end. That way I could be wheeled back onto the ice on like a little chair so I could celebrate with my team because we ended up winning the championship. It was my first championship as an adult. It was really cool to achieve something like that. But at the same time, now I need fucking surgery and that kind of sucks.
So when you called him a motherfucker, do you think that's you said they're family? So do you think that might have started it?
No, I think like the icing on the cake was like me saying check the scoreboard. It's like no one wants to hear that when they're losing in a championship game. And in the past I've been really good. I was telling Amanda before the hockey tournament, she brought up, fighting and stuff and don't try to show off because I'm there. And I was like, listen, like I've never been in a fight in a hockey game. I've instigated stuff, but I've easily made the player lash out on me to draw the penalty because then we're up a player on a power play. And I had already done that like 2 or 3 times during the tournament. I had drawn at least 2 or 3 penalties throughout the entire tournament, which we scored on the power play. So it works out great. But this time, like, I couldn't take it. Like the guy was playing cheap as fuck. Another thing that's kind of random from today, I ended up talking with the coordinator for their program. Him and I reached out to each other because he's actually a friend of mine and he's been on the podcast before, Brandon Beaver, who runs the Colorado Warriors. And he basically went over it. He's like, all right, let me hear what happened on your end. I'm going to tell you what my coaches and trainers saw because the Colorado Warriors team has like coaches, they have trainers, they're sponsored by the Avalanche. Like they're a big organization and they've been to many tournaments and they know that they're not supposed to fight or do shit like this. So I explained the story and he's like, that's exactly what they told me. But they also told me that you didn't even see the guy coming because he came from like behind you in the side, clocked you in the face, and then grabbed you by the shoulder to pull you down. And I don't know, everything kind of happened fast. It's kind of shitty, but that player is being suspended for 5 games. He's on a verbal warning plus a suspension of 1 more, even close to an infraction like that. Like he's going to be kicked off the team because, we do get violent in these games. Like hockey is not a fucking non-violent sport, but we're not out there trying to injure other players. And the other problem he had was a lot of the leadership on that hockey team for the Colorado Warriors came to check on me. One of the guys helped me get me off the ice to get me to like the medical trainers. And a couple of them came up to me after the game, like later in the hotel to see if I was okay and apologize and this and that. The 2 dudes that I fought with or whatever, both of them grilled me when I got off the ice, never fucking apologized, never gave a shit that I was injured. Like just kind of fucked up because like shit happens. Like I don't think the guy intentionally broke my ankle. At the same time, he shouldn't have jumped into the fucking fight. So that was my weekend.
Yeah, it sounds like you had a fun weekend for sure. I heard all about it. And then you said you have to have surgery, so that sucks. But how's life been? How's life been only having 1 leg?
It's been bad and good, meaning like it's a pain in the ass to do things, but I do want to give a shout out to, first off, my teammates for helping me get on and off the ice. And then a big shout out to one of our buddies who actually played with us in a previous tournament and was at the game watching it. The medical staff was in the middle of wrapping my leg because it was fucking broken. The clock ended. The game was over. The championship was won. People were going fucking crazy. He's like, cut the tape right now. I need him. He literally carried me onto the ice, or like got me onto a chair, pushed me on the ice so I could go celebrate with my team. And that's one of my buddies, May, who has played with us in another tournament and is a really good friend. Then I want to, shout out my beautiful girlfriend, Amanda, because she spent the next over 24 hours taking care of my broken ass, helping me get all my equipment, 2 places, helping me get to the hospital, getting me home, just being incredible. And then on top of that, dealing with a 7-month-old puppy that was at the hotel that was constantly trying to jump on my leg and act a fool. And then fast forward to now, I just want to give one more shout out and say everyone that works with me at the park, like, it's been incredible. My buddy Paul came over and brought me lunch today and hung out with Allie and I. He's a police officer out here. My boss, Lowell, who actually listens to the podcast, he showed up at my house the night I got home to help me get all my stuff in, help me deal with Allie. He cooked me dinner the first night. He helped me like do things because like being on crutches sucks, like especially when you're home by yourself. Like I am having trouble like moving things room to room. So he's come over several times to check on me, to hang out with me, to talk to me, bring me food, cook me stuff. Him and Paul both made enchiladas for me tonight. So I got to eat one before the podcast. I'm actually going to try the other afterwards. My other buddy, Chance, he's been super helpful. Everyone, like it's been shitty, but it's been the best shitty that anyone could ever have, because I truly feel like I have a family out here that's watching after me and is literally helping me get through this.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that's enough about me, because I think we have like a super fucking cool guest on, and I want to keep drinking whiskey with him and learning more. So with that being said, you just had an event that happened over the weekend too, right, Chad, on March 31st, or?
Oh, you mean, yeah, the 28th, my birthday. Yeah. So, which I don't really celebrate too much. But yeah, I turned 47 this year. So,
can we pause for a sec? Like, you look so fucking good for 47. like it's incredible. People age usually terribly once they get into like, late 30s, early 40s. Like both Amanda and I thought you were significantly younger than you are. We thought you were our age, maybe younger. Experience-wise, we thought you were older than us. But like looks-wise, the more I drink this, the more sexier you get.
Yeah, you want to swipe right on me, Rob?
Mm-hmm.
Are you swiping right?
No, I would swipe up. I would give you a super
swipe up. Okay.
I would give you a super.
Okay. I didn't even know that was a thing. So, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah. So I haven't been on a date since 1994.
Probably should keep it that way. You are married.
Yeah. That's right.
With a lovely family.
Yeah. My last date was my freshman year in college, to my now 24-year married wife, and 30, whatever the math is, 28 years together, something like that. So
that's incredible.
Yeah. So, but I did meet Amanda when you were in Houston, because she's an H-Town resident, and lovely lady, and is going to be, hopefully modeling on our Instagram more often. But I think you did tell me something yesterday that I was asking how it was, and you mentioned something about a sponge bath or something. Can we talk about that briefly, or does that sound cooler than it looked, or what was the deal on that?
I mean, I know the full details of that sponge bath.
So, well, Austin, you probably gave it, because you guys are married.
Let me
right?
just say that my morale was restored by my injury. Amanda took very good care of me while I took my very first shower. I don't wish she was here, in the essence of like, I think it would be too much for her to have to try to take care of me and take care of Finn. But if Finn was a little bit older, I could use more of those showers like every night. And I might even like try to re-break my leg to get another one.
She would kill you if you
I should have had her come over.
She would kill you.
Rob, I should have had her come over, and we could have co-broadcasted, together, and we could have asked her if her view and version of the sponge bath was as good as yours was. It could have been a whole different angle. That it's always cooler to get it than to have to give it.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's just say that there wasn't a sponge involved. It was just purely hands and a lot of soap. And she's incredible, but we're gonna keep her as a respectful lady that she is. That I adore
we're gonna have
dearly.
her on the podcast sometime. So.
Well, yeah, we should. Once she doesn't want to like kill me. She was pretty upset. She took this injury pretty hard because she, thought like maybe I got in that fight because she was there and, I was trying to show off. She also, had a deep conversation with me about like, she's not into guys that are violent. And, she hopes that when I recover from this, it's more of a lesson, that it's not a habitual thing. Like I go out there and continue to fight other players, which I won't. But I also told her this, listen, like hockey wise stuff happens on the ice is crazy, but I don't think I need to get in another hockey fight. But I'll tell you what, and I can pretty much attest to probably any, good dude out there. If someone ever laid their hands on her, it would be over. Like I would not be able to control myself. I will fight for someone that I love and care about. And that goes for.
But that's a whole different.
Exactly. Because she's
completely different.
She's like, promise me you won't fight again. And I was like, on the ice, I can probably promise that. I can't 100% promise it because I don't know what's going to happen. But I will not go out of my way to ever fight someone. But if someone ever touched you, look at the
score again.
Don't do scoreboard checks. Yeah. But yeah, so. Yeah. So besides your birthday, did you do anything else over the weekend for Sisterdale, or you had anything going on or coming up?
This weekend we were off. Now so my partner and I kind of split duties between different events and things like that. So we work with local artists, and we had a crawfish boil this weekend at one of our farms that they in Houston. They grow actually kind of close to where Amanda lives, over in the Heights in Houston. So we do different things to support local artists, whether they be chefs, whether they bring up musicians. We've got a guy named Alex Lambert who has written some songs that Justin Bieber has put out. And he was on American Idol, The Voice, top 10, and great Texan out of Fort Worth, lives in Nashville now. So we work with him and, different people that are doing different things around our brand that represent our brand and similar lifestyles. We have a couple of different, if you go to our Instagram page, SisterDaleDistillingCo.com, you'll see there's Alex there with the hat on, and you'll see we're in Rolling Stones. If you look at that fourth post there in the middle, our event that we did in Austin by South by Southwest was named one of the coolest things at South by South by. So I don't know if you guys know what South by Southwest is. It's a huge music festival and technology festival.
Isn't it video too?
It's everything. It's all kinds of entertainment. It started out as just a bunch of musicians, doing that, but they have a film festival, but we did some stuff there, and some artist stuff that we do, and you'll see Spencer. And
let's talk about this good-looking guy right here.
Yeah, Spencer Kirksey. He's you guys know Spencer, yeah?
Oh yeah. We've had him on the podcast. We're good friends.
Okay, there you go. Yeah. So Spencer, funny enough, and maybe that's how I think I maybe ran into you guys, was if you look at him, he's the face of one of the faces of our company. We use him in a lot of our advertisement campaigns between October and December. His face, that picture right there, the one that you just passed on. Not that one, the other one. Yeah, that one that was seen by 3.5 million Texans. Is
that the one you put in Forbes?
No, Forbes. So Forbes was not a magazine, or was not an advertisement. That was actually the Forbes list, right? They come out with a list every year. We were honored to be listed in Forbes magazine as listed one of the world's top craft bourbons on the planet. Yeah. And that was back in October-ish. But we've won. We came out in November a year ago, so it's been 15, 16 months, and we've won over eight medals, and we're in Forbes, and we're named one of the best micro distilleries. And what you're looking at now is our other buddy Spencer, with Invicta Coffee, who you guys mentioned a minute ago.
Good friend of ours.
Yeah, so we did a collaboration with him, who we also met through Spencer Kirksey, so that's our Sisterdale Bourbon coffee. It's one of his best selling deals.
It's his best.
Hands down the best one he has. Like, I love all his stuff, but that Bourbon Con is incredible. And that's actually how you and I connected.
Yep.
Was
through
Invicta.
Yeah, and so that kind of gets into a little bit of, it all started with Spencer. We liked his look and kind of what he does with Wrangler and, different things that he does. And so we liked him as a human being. He himself was an educator and then went out on his own about 2 years ago, right in COVID. And, I think you said you've had him on the podcast, so you understand the story, but this, the hustle and the grind. And so, we really relate well to that. Same thing with you guys. That's what we do. And so we started using him and he happens to be one of our most popular when we post him and anything with him. We have about 33% of our followers are women. And so women and men alike, like Spencer, but the Invicta Coffee thing we did when I checked him out, and again, through that, and I saw his mission, which is donating proceeds back and things like that. And so we said, look, we'd like to do a collaboration with you guys. And, we donate 100% of our piece of that deal. We give it all back to Spencer and he does what he does with it, with the different charities and things that he's doing. So we pump it, we promote it, we do a lot with it, and it's great for us because it gives us a chance to do some other avenues as a company. But the mission is what it's about. So and mental health and, which is what Rob and I've had a lot of conversations about. It's near and dear to our heart at Sisterdale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and actually, on that note, we definitely met through Spencer, and got connected. You found out about Save Our Six, and you had an interest in that when we talked on the phone for two different reasons. One was your brother, and one was the mission behind like mental health, even though that you're a bourbon company. Would you like to go into some detail on that about like what your brother did and, what your thoughts are on the veteran community and like, the promotion of your alcohol?
Yeah. Yeah. So, my father, did 2 tours in Vietnam, and growing up, when he came home from Vietnam, to this day, his body bag is still packed up in the attic. So my brother and I, we were little, we'd go up in the attic and he had this big green, and never unpacked it. I mean, 20 years later, 40 years later. And so, we kind of grew up a little bit of that Vietnam post-traumatic stress, which wasn't a thing then. You just sort of had to suck it up and, men were men. And, one day to the battlefield and 2 days later, you're, you're driving down the street and at the grocery store, and it's amazing how far we've come. But yeah, both my grandfathers, my uncle, my brother they're all, military. My oldest brother, who I'm referring to, he was a Marine scout sniper out of 29 Palms, and was in the 1-7, I believe is his unit. I'm talking like I know. I'm trying to get street cred for being military, and I'm not military, but he did that for a while and rode bulls professionally in the military, and was I don't know, brown belt or something like that. And he was always he was dealt with drug addiction in high school, and so he's always sort of looking for something, fighting, drinking, partying, Marines, bull riding. And so, and we have a lot of mental health in my family, a lot of mental health issues. And I myself, I'm on Prozac, I'm on Lexapro, bouts of depression, anxiety. I'm in a very stressful, world in both my venture capital and software business, and both starting up and running a bourbon business. So, when I see grown men not being afraid to talk about those things, that's big for me. And then when I see suicide, I don't think I was meant to talk to my brother before this podcast to see if he cared about it, if I brought it up, but I don't think he does. So I'm going to. But he came out of the military. He had one of his friends staying with him for like the weekend, and my brother was taking a shower. They're ready to go out. He's 20-something years old, and he hears a gun go off in his living room, and he goes out there, and his buddy had gone into my brother's room and taken his Desert Eagle out of his nightstand and shot himself on his couch. And so stuff like this, is crazy. And then when I was talking to Rob, and he's talking about how many friends he's lost and, things like that. So for us, it's a really important, and you don't have to be a military or even a first responder. Like I said, I mean, there's everyday people struggle with mental health and with COVID and
yeah,
I can go on and on and on, but yeah, it's near and dear to our heart. So anything we can do and we can promote, like March for Miles. And when I saw that going on, I was like, what can we do? Can we, I can certainly march, but what can we do as a brand to make this where more people would want to get involved? And so we said, well, let's, hey, we'll throw some bourbon in. And so just that's the kind of stuff we do.
Yeah. And I think one of the things that made me like you even more, just as a human and our conversations that we've had over the past month and a half that we've known each other, it's not that like you've given me some incredible bourbon. It's more that you have a brother who did very similar line of work as myself, being a recon and sniper guy as well for the Army. You also have witnessed what he went through on the PTSD spectrum for losing friends that were close to him. And then one of the things that you said to me that was key when you said that you wanted to be one of the donators for March for Miles, which we're going to actually get into next, is, if the person is like a recovering alcoholic or we had discussed if the person is not a person that would drink alcohol, we would do something else for that winter, because we're not out here trying to force alcohol down someone's throat who might be, sober for, or a recovering addict from alcohol, drugs, whatever. And I just think it's good that there's companies out there that are for a profit, but not at the profit level of like, hey, let's just try to give alcohol to everyone, because alcohol isn't for everyone. And it means a lot because it goes against your character and like what you stand for. So it means a lot, I know, to both Austin and I. And that was like one of the reasons why we're like, we have to have him on the podcast. And, like I wanted to develop a friendship with you beyond like whatever the fuck, I take pictures of and you supply me with whiskey. Like, I don't know. You mean a lot to us, Chad, and like your background mission means a lot to us. So that was one of the big reasons why we wanted to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, and we like having people that like, because there's plenty of people and plenty of companies out there that say they want to help and say that they support military and all these things, but it's a whole different thing when you put your money where your mouth is and you show that you want to support and that you actually do care.
Especially with like Invicta, like you've done a lot for them. All right. Okay.
Well,
even smaller companies.
I'd like to say I don't know that we've done a lot. I mean, that guy works and grinds, and Spencer is another Spencer. I mean, he what he does and the fact that he gives his profits back, I'm like, that's fantastic for us. And so, but yeah, that's the other thing is there's a little bit of a debt feeling, a little bit of a guilt feeling for people who didn't serve their country, like myself, and I have a whole family of people who did. You sort of feel like you're in debt, and so the word fraud is not the right word, because I don't know that I'm weaker or something because I didn't go serve. But there's something different when you pick up a gun and you get on an airplane, you fly overseas, and you don't know what's gonna you don't know if that's your last day. That's a whole different thing than battling the corporate world and all this kind of stuff. And so it's a little bit of debt payback, and I think we're at a spot. I don't get too political, but I think we're at a spot where too many people just take that shit for granted, and you don't, and not only take it for granted, almost like nose despite the face, right? People in this country have kind of lost sight of the freedoms that we have and take it for granted, and you don't know it until it's gone to something like Ukraine or something like that, and people start throwing around, let's get over there and do all these things. Well, you're not the one that's getting on the horse and riding into battle. That's a whole different
yeah,
group of people.
And that's unfortunately part of the media is a lot of people, or quote unquote professionals that have no idea. They've never been overseas. They've never been in a war. They have no idea what they're talking about, but they're these professionals that think that they know what's best.
That's right. So for us, it's like, well, what can I do now, to pay my debt, and try to, in whatever way I can, pay my debt back to society. And so the only thing I can think of is, one is to help those people who came back to do something. And mental health is, like I said, is a big deal. As I struggle with myself. And so when I see these companies, it's just like, I just want to like jump on and whatever we can do, and whatever little that we can do. But the alcohol thing is a big deal too, because we're not, if you look at our page and our bottle, this white label that we're drinking, this is an $85 bottle. It's expensive. It's one of the most expensive bourbons out there. Ultra premium in America is considered $55 and up. So if you go to a liquor store, anything that's $55 and up is the highest category, ultra premium. This is 85. And then this here is, 200. So 180, I think you can get online for 180, but it's 200 retail. So these are very expensive bourbons. It's not made to chug and slam like Rob did on that first pack. I sat there and I was watching, I was on my bike, which I thought counted for March for Miles, but I was getting a bunch of miles in, and then I realized I had to readjust.
Yeah, your numbers are so high. I'm like, what the fuck?
Know,
how is he beating me?
I know, Rob, you're like, man, this is fast time. And I'm like, I'm riding a bike. It wasn't really that fast. But anyways, I had my phone on my handle on my mountain bike, and I actually was watching the video of you guys. And I'm just watching him this first. He's like, yeah, I just met this guy, I'm drinking, and and he's just guzzling like he's about to do right now. And I'm like, oh my God, you're about to get fucked up. I mean, this is 94% alcohol. This is 108 proof. Okay.
I still need to try that blue label.
So it's so fucking good. So he sent me home with a bottle of it,
a sample,
one of your sampler size that I've hiked with and stuff before. Like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah, so the fact that it doesn't burn all this, but this is not made. It's like a really high end steak or something. It's not meant just to slam down. You're supposed to like slowly drink and enjoy it. There's plenty of alcohol brands out there that are let's go party and get wasted, and we're at a different point in our life where we want to enjoy life. We want to enjoy things. We want to we're not trying to be the chug and glug whiskey company. And so it's a finer thing. Yeah. But I did talk to Rob, back to his point that a minute ago, which was like, hey, if we come on though, are we going to trigger anybody, especially in the veteran community that's struggling with post-traumatic or alcoholism or any of those things? Like, I don't want to trigger. I don't ever want us to trigger somebody, because they may be following you guys because they like what your brand is. And then all of a sudden there's an alcohol thing that's thrown in that you guys are promoting.
If if they've watched any of our episodes before, they know there's alcohol involved.
Literally, Buck is a recovered alcoholic. Like, the guy that was on that episode that I was annihilated.
The best looking guest we've ever had.
That's the electrician,
40
right?
and above.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, I don't know. Chad might give him a run for his money, but
he's in way better shape. I've seen his shorts pictures on Instagram.
He's thirst trapping hard, man, and he's smuggling some grapes, or he's packing some heat down there. Jesus Christ, man! He listens to the podcast.
He's having grapefruits down there.
Buck, it looks like you got a big dick, bud.
So that's our deal, and we're glad to help. And anybody that's hustling in small business, that's grinding, that may not have access to venture capital and things that we do, we just try to help out. And so by us, I can't remember how many followers Spencer had on his Instagram on Invicta before we got involved, and we started pumping that. We were doing, like I said, we did 3.5 million, reach outs over the 3 months of the holidays, and Invicta was in that rotation as well. So, and these were to, targeted audience to pretty high net worth people that can afford $80 and $200 bottles. And so we were pumping the Invicta, to all of our hunting people. And we have a lot of hunting guides and stuff who follow us, and some of our ambassadors you'll see Jedediah and some of them, that Lindsay, who's super awesome. These are people that are, sponsored by some of the best brands on the world around hunting and fishing. And that crosses over to the military group a lot as well. And so we're just trying to do anything we can to help Spencer. And the coffee's good. And so he grinds out. And so that's, same thing with, again, Spencer in California, same thing. They grind him and Paul. And so we're all for helping them. They've helped us so much. We have people that order online and they tell us it's from Potty Mouth Podcast and all that stuff. So we're in debt to these people as well.
Yeah, and it's good. It's good that, like, Austin and I have talked about this quite a bit on the podcast, and, we'll bring it up again for the heck of it. There's a lot of like negative connotation that goes with social media, and there's also like a 180 side of it where you get these incredible connections that, businesses help other businesses out, and they're doing it not necessarily for a monetary gain, but just for the fact that they believe in the other person's company or they support that person. And it's just nice that there's people out there that you can connect with and have all these connections with. And I don't know, like, I'm very happy that we kind of like formed some sort of, what do we call it? We called it, instead of like a partnership, we called it a friendship. Like
I thought we were getting married, but yeah.
I mean, like, Amanda might get jealous as fuck, but
yeah, my wife will be like, "You can have them." I've done it 25 years.
I've had it for so long.
Yeah, I've done it. It's enough. No, just like collaboration and stuff. I mean, we just want to be able to help out. And again, like, I mean, we're more honored, that the military community is liking our stuff and supporting us.
Mm-hmm.
We know we're expensive. We're not trying to be expensive for the sake of being expensive. That's like the worst, a brand that comes out that's no one's ever heard of, that's super expensive. That's like a death trap in the business world of what not to do. But it's because of what we do and the products we use and the ingredients we put in there. And like you said, at the end of the day, the word delicious is our North Star. So we don't chase, recipes and things like that. We chase the word delicious. And when you can drink a 94 proof piece of alcohol, granular alcohol, or you can drink 108 proof, which is what our blue label is. I mean, you go back to like Wild Turkey 101 or Bacardi, all those back in the day where people would light flames and spit it out, catch on fire. But you drink our stuff and it tastes like, it just is so smooth. The art that goes in, the work that goes in to making super high proof bourbon taste super smooth and delicious. That is the art and the craft of what we're into. And so, this product here, that it took us over a year and a half to get this product right before we released it. And there's 5 different bourbons blended in here across 4 different grains, between corns and wheat and barley. And we spent 18 months. We went through probably 120 different, juices, which are called distillates, and then well over 1,000 combinations to get it right. So you're talking like just methodical working to get it out. And so we're working on a rye product right now, and it's been 6 months, and we've been at it. I mean, for 6 months, and it's just not right yet. So we just keep working. This is our labor of love. This is what we like to do. So it's not a bad thing to do. So we go out to the hill country in Texas, and my partner and I and our distiller, and we sit up there in the barn, and the views, or if you look on our Instagram, you'll see some of it. We don't really like to tell too many people where our distillery is. We're not an open like tasting room. We don't bring people in. It's on a private property, but we try to keep our location somewhat quiet because, a bunch of Texas rednecks with blow torches, and we'll have that bourbon out there in no time. But that's what we do. And this is like our labor of love. And it's how we de-stress from our jobs, and how we, try to just reconnect with, our friendship and, the environment, and de-stress from everything for a little while. So we go up on weekends and make bourbon, drink bourbon, and have a good time.
Yeah, you can't have a bad weekend doing that.
Yeah,
no,
definitely not. And
well, you can, but it takes a lot.
Yeah, and one of the things that I also wanted to mention too was, you and I started talking on Instagram, and before you and I even discussed like doing anything like a meeting and everything, like I went out and actually purchased the bottle because
which I appreciate. Yeah.
And it's one of those things that like I appreciate the fact that you send us stuff too, but I wanted to go out there and actually like test the stuff because Spencer had already talked about you guys quite a bit. I'm a connoisseur of bourbons and whiskey myself, but I don't think I ever tasted anything that was at the level that you guys had to offer in the bourbon form. Like I've tasted some high-end scotches, and I don't know, it was one of those things that like, even with like Spencer with Invicta, both his company and my company, we buy shit from each other because we're trying to support the other person's business. Because none of us are looking for free handouts, and we also want to support each other. So for those of you who think I just got free whiskey all the time, I actually bought my first bottle from them.
Well, and that's one of the reasons as I pour another deal here. And so that's one of the reasons I really liked it too, is because so many people ask us for free stuff. It's like everybody asks us for free stuff, right? And this, I always wore my Save Our Six shirt, which I'm wearing the shit out of. But I bought it, right?
I wore your Sisterdale though. Actually,
I know, I appreciate it. But same thing, it's because everybody asks us for everything for free, and it's like, guys, we're trying to make a living here too, right? We're
no shit. Like, you can't just give you everything.
That's right. If I give everybody something for free that asked for it, I'd be out of business. But because I actually saw you buy it, I was like, okay, so this guy's serious. That meant a lot. It's a lot to buy an $80 bottle of bourbon. I mean, it's a lot. It's expensive. I mean, people have running shoes that so it meant a lot to us, and so I really appreciated that as well. And we're gonna get a hotel room soon, or are we just gonna keep having this love fest? I'm sure the audience is
just gonna keep building it up. We're gonna just keep building it up till Amanda gets really jealous. As long as she doesn't break up with me over it, like, we'll keep building it up.
I think she's fine. We can talk about how you're drinking the bourbon though, if you'd like.
So what's going into the details on that?
Yeah, you got the ice.
Yeah, because I'm a bitch. Like, let's be honest, I'm a bitch. I tried. All right, explain the process.
We can't drink it out of
it's actually supposed to be drank.
Yeah, we can't be drinking it out of Glencairn's over here.
Yeah. No,
these are actually these are Sisterdale. I don't know if you can see it, but these are actually Sisterdale branded. So
I need one of those. I'll buy one. Please send me one.
Well, first off, what I would say is, all kidding aside, because I did hear the one where you got really toasted and you were like, Chad's going to kill me. I'm like, first off, anybody who tells you how to drink bourbon is full of shit. Okay. So that's number one. You drink it how you like it. If you spend $80 on a bourbon or $20 on a bourbon, it doesn't matter. You drink it the way you want to drink it. So just don't, drink it with me. So our bourbon, so we make it really to be neat. This is called neat, which means there's nothing in it. So, and I could talk a little bit about, I could talk a little bit about what makes bourbon versus whiskey. We can get into that as well.
Please do. Okay. I think it'd be interesting for our guests.
Before you get into that, though, we should probably get into March for Miles.
Yeah, because we got winners. We have some bottles.
Yeah, I guess we could announce them. Let's just make sure that we mark this area. That way we know where it's at.
What's funny, Rob, is he says we should do all these things, and I always notice you're the one doing everything. He's like, we should put that up, Austin. Can you put that up, Austin?
Pretty much. That's pretty much how it goes.
He gets drunk, and you do all the
Austin does all the work.
That's with 90% of his life.
Yeah.
I'm just the face of the podcast and the brand, and I'm just drunk half the time.
I mean, I make all of his merch. I do everything for the podcast. Yeah, I do everything.
Yeah,
I'm his executive
assistant. Tattoos, a mullet, and I can't provide that besides to Amanda because she's my girl. But I'm just saying, there are benefits of having me as a co-host.
Is there?
Yeah.
I don't know. We're just guessing at this point.
Yeah. So
Austin. Let's go into March for Miles. Let's finish that off, and then I definitely want to get more information on how whiskey bourbon's made and how it's actually supposed to be drank.
You just drink it out of the bottle.
You can.
I mean, okay, so yeah, let's go. So March for Miles ended. So we have two winners. One that got a ridiculous amount of miles because he was an ultra runner, and the other one who is a friend of ours that did really good. So the first place for men's is Charlie Godwin, which was what's her name? Kendra's dad.
Can we see their Instagram, or does he have an Instagram?
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't.
I don't think he has an Instagram because it's her dad.
His daughter does.
Yeah, okay. And that's 109. He got 192.86 miles, and that's because he's an ultra runner.
Yeah, but still,
I was only 82 miles behind him. I should have been able to catch him.
All right, congratulations. What was his name?
Yep.
Charlie Godwin.
Charlie Godwin. I hope you're a bourbon drinker because you're gonna get some good bourbon coming your way. And I don't know all the prizes, but I guess you'll get into that in just a second.
Yeah, and we'll reach out to her and get the address and send it over to you.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, and then the first place for women's is a friend of ours, which is Libby. She got first place. She got first place for women's, and she
How
got
many miles?
87 miles.
She still beat me.
Libby's
I was trying.
If you didn't do all your miles on the bike, Chad, okay.
I took those out, and that took out about half my mile. Where did I finish? Who was second and third? Let's. Do you have those?
Let's see. So second was not you, Chad.
No.
So second was George the Sailor, and he got 151.75 miles.
He's the guy that I see marching on the deck.
Yeah,
he marches on the battleship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the battleship.
Yeah, I see him. Yeah, okay. He's an active duty guy.
Yeah. And then for women's, the second place was Lisa Godwin, which is her mom, was Kendra's mom.
Wow. That's a heck of a family.
The first place one. Yeah.
All right. And then where did Rob is saying he got 100, go ahead and do third.
Rob was third place.
He's slacking us, right? That he's got 110 miles. So okay. And then who was where did I fall with my 79 or whatever?
You fought in fifth place.
Oh, all right. That's
who's fourth?
Tommy. Fourth was your cousin Tommy.
I'm pretty happy with that then. I did well.
Yeah, your cousin Tommy got fourth place, Rob.
Okay, cool. Very cool.
All right. Let's get what else are they winning? Don't they win some Petco and there's other sponsors, right?
Yeah, we have Honest Petco, Invicta, and then Saber 6 and Vigil and Humble. And it's a $50 gift card to each.
Okay. Yeah. See, I'm having to run the show now. You see what I'm doing, Rob? I gotta tell you guys, I gotta prompt you on the other sponsors.
I know, geez.
So
this is our first episode. I have no idea what we're doing.
The Petco deal, though, they do stuff for military as well, right? Don't they do?
Yeah, Ezra's a good guy.
Yeah,
he's been on the podcast. That was actually one of my favorite podcasts that we did. That was family friendly, I think, except for the fact that a naked baby ran onto the screen at one point.
Yeah.
But Honest Petco is a great company. They give back to first responders and military, and they've
followed them, and like I said, that George guy,
Allie loves everything.
Sailor, George the Sailor, the electrician. I see all these guys. They all started following us, so I appreciate it. So if you hit us up on Instagram, you're talking to me. I'm the guy that runs our Instagram, and so if you're ever you're looking at the marketing department, the social media department, the IT department, this is you're looking at
everything.
And he will respond, very fast.
So is that a dig, Rob, that you think I respond too much? I'm too thorough. Is that what you're saying?
You're very thorough.
I'm very thorough. Yeah,
sometimes I'm like, I can't keep. I'm like, I can't keep up with this, Austin. Please talk to him. Like that morning, you are such a morning person. Can we talk about morning person versus like night person? Sure. But honestly, I'm impressed you're actually keeping up with us tonight. Like, I feel like you're in this conversation. That first meeting we had, I was so happy that Amanda was there because I could not keep up. Like, you're just on it. Like, so much details about like what your company is, like what the vision is. You present numbers. It was just, I could not keep up with you in the morning. I was like, I didn't have enough coffee for this meeting. But like you and Amanda like flowed off each other. Thank God she was there. You're definitely
first off, it was 2 hour. You're a 2 hour time zone different, but I'm a little bit what you call high energy, and so which gets back to sort of like the grinding and the hustle. If you want to run your own business, and you want to get ahead in life, it's not you're not going to do it by just working 9 to 5 for somebody else. It's hard. It's really, really hard. Those days are kind of gone. The side hustles, the grinding, the more that you diversify your income and diversify your lives, the less dependent you are on one source. So if you lost your job because of COVID, or you're relocated, or you're laid off, or the company gets merged or out of business, or you get transferred, the more diversified you are, the less stress you have at night. Well, maybe because sometimes that comes with more stress. But when you get over the hump and it starts to produce, then it's like, the more spread out you are in life, the more even balanced you are, and don't have all your eggs in one basket, the more diversified you are, the less risky you are for any one piece of your life to fall. That's then going to trigger you off, to have some sort of major problem. So, and I know that from experience, from having major problems and having, major, issues in my life. So that's why these side businesses, and when I see people that are grinding, and working hard, it's no one else is going to do it. You can sleep when you're dead. And those people who want to be done at 5 o'clock and want to enjoy TV all night, well, that's awesome, but you're not going to most likely be super successful. That doesn't, Elon Musk doesn't sleep. Those guys work around the clock. Now you got to have a work-life balance, or you're going to burn out as well. And then you're going to lead into alcohol problem. So there's a balance in all things in life. But if I don't keep busy, doing stuff, then, that's when the darkness sets in.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing is, a lot of people try to do it themselves, and that's where they get burnt out, because it's hard. It's hard to run a business on your own. It's hard to do everything by yourself. So you need, someone to lean on, or a team of people to help you.
That's right. You have to know what you're strong at, what you're weak at. So like you and Rob, I've got my Austin. His name's Peter. He doesn't ever come on in these podcasts, and he doesn't want to be seen. He doesn't want his picture taken. But he runs, he's a lawyer by trade, and his thing is I break shit and he fixes it. So that's we're sort of the same thing as you guys. So, I enjoy being out talking and promoting, and he really is responsible for actually the taste profiles and all the nuts and bolts of the ingredients that go in with our distiller, and all of our, that's what Pete likes doing. He likes being in the distillery in the middle of the whiskey. So do I, but I don't have attention to detail. So he's so you got to have people that you lean on, that complement you in any team. Military teaches that, high school sports, college sports, any of those things that you do where you have to lean on somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that. Finding someone that complements you. So, but we can get into whiskey if you guys want to talk about a little bit. I know we're an hour in, so
I said, go ahead. Let's talk about whiskey. Like, what's the difference? Why whiskey? Everything.
Well, first off, do you guys? I can explain the difference between bourbon, Scotch, and whiskey if you want to know that. First off,
a
lot of people know that. Yeah. So, and by the way, I am no expert, even though I'm in the business. There's going to be
I thought
somebody
you were the only expert.
No, there's going to be somebody out there who's going to chime in on Instagram or something that's going to correct me or tell me I'm wrong or whatever. Fine, you're taterhead somewhere that whatever. So again, go back to do what you like. If you pay for it, you drink it the way you drink it the way you want it. So everything is whiskey is the top category. Okay. Inside of whiskey, there are two subcategories. Generally, there's Scotch and there's bourbon. And the way I describe this to people is if you think about coffee, right? So if you think about a vanilla latte, right? Or a cappuccino, right? If you think about a glass with you got milk steamed in there, you've got some sugar, some vanillas, you got some whatever you want to put in there. And then at the very bottom, you got this espresso shots, right? So bourbon is the espresso shots. Mm-hmm. Whiskey is the top line coffee category. So everything's sort of whiskey. You can manipulate whiskey. You can do different things with it. But when you get down into bourbon and Scotch, Scotch is from Scotland. Bourbon is from America. It does not have to be from Kentucky, which is a lot of people think it is. That's not true. It's an American regulated product. Scotch is a Scottish regulated product.
Because if it's Scotch, it has to be made in Scotland, correct?
I'm not an expert on Scotch, but I'm not an expert on Scotch, so I don't know if it has to be made in Scotland. But I don't know any that's not made in Scotland. It's a product of Scotland, so it's their regulated product, but it has peat in it. Versus, so let me kind of walk through this, right? So whiskey is the top category. So you have Crown Royals, and you have these different things where people take whiskey and they put it in port barrels and wine barrels and all this sort of stuff. But as you roll down into bourbon and scotch, those are very specific products. I'll talk about bourbon because that's what I know about. Bourbon, inside of this bourbon bottle, okay, there's four things. There's grains, okay, and bourbon. I won't go into all this regulatory things, but it has to be 51% corn. There's certain grains that you can use that you can and can't use, things like that. So, but bourbon has to be 51% corn. But in this bottle right here that you just said tastes so awesome, tastes so smooth, tastes so sweet, so delicious. You know, people get in it and they go, oh, it's like a creme brulee and all this kind of bullshit. But what you got inside of it is grain. You got water, okay? You've got wood, the barrel, and you've got temperature and time. That's all that's inside of here. So when you drink it at the beginning, Austin, you go, wow, it's super delicious, like so smooth, so sweet. We did all of that with grain, water, wood, and temperature. That's it. And the temperature is controlled by God, not even controlled by us. I mean, we don't our barns have no temperature, no air conditioning. If it gets hot outside, our product that we released in last summer went through a 2-week freeze. It was below 13 degrees for over 2 weeks. It should below about 28 degrees, but it hit 13. And so for 2 weeks straight, and we thought we were like, oh, well, let's see what it does. And it took some product that we had with some barrels that we actually were going to throw away. We were going to just dump. And it turned it into some beautiful product, the freeze. We had this long freeze 2 years ago. You guys probably saw on CNN and all that stuff where all of Texas was shut down. That took 3 barrels, 160 gallons of product that we were just like, I was just sitting on, didn't know, we made it, we mixed it, didn't really like it. And now it's maybe a special single barrel release that we do. That's actually going to be probably pretty expensive. So that's what temperature can do. So if you think about coffee, right, and you have really good beans, which in here you can have really good grains, but you have shitty water. If you take ditch water and you put it through your coffee makers, that stuff's going to taste like crap. Vice versa. If you take what we use, which is Heart Water, this is I don't know if you can see the brand. This is, and they don't pay me. We use this is a Texas rainwater. This is harvested out of Austin, Texas. It never touches the ground. These people are really awesome. They do a ton of mental health stuff too. And so they have recovery centers, like 100-something recovery centers in Texas. But this is called Heart Water. And what it is rainwater that's harvested and never touches the ground. They go through all these purifications. It's pretty expensive. We actually finish off all our bottles with rainwater. We don't use tap water, city water. So stay with me, right? Coffee, if you have really good grains and beans, but you have shitty water, or vice versa. If you have Fiji water and really shitty grains, really shitty corn, cheap corn that was burned or through droughts, then your coffee is not going to taste good. You got to have both good beans, good water, right? And then you have to have a good temperature. If you run coffee at 200 degrees versus 60 degrees, that coffee is going to taste different. You can burn it or you can not cook it at all. It doesn't open up. So these are the things that go in with bourbon, very similar, right? It's just like a stew. If you have badass filet mignon steak, but you have ditch water that you're using to cook your soup in, it's going to taste like crap. If you put Fiji water in a soup and then you put shitty ass steak in, it's going to taste like crap. So you have to have all these things have to hit in order for the product to taste the way you want it to taste. There's no sugar in here. There's nothing in here that makes it smooth. Whereas like Crown Royal or a Canadian whiskey, you can blend it with stuff, port, wine, tequila. You can put it in barrels that have sugary wine in it. You can do all those things to whiskeys. This is an espresso. This is nothing in it, but this is just the pure bourbon, and it's regulated by the government as to what it can and can't be. And if you change it, if I put in the wood, for example, there's a certain type of wood that you have to use, a certain type of tree that you have to use in order for bourbon. Whiskey, I can use any barrel I want. Bourbon, a subcategory, has to be virgin white oak barrels. And once you use them, you can't reuse them. So I have to use brand new barrels. We can get into charring and all the stuff on the inside, the burning and all that stuff. But you have to use brand new barrels, and I can never reuse them. I can never put that whiskey back into a used barrel, or it becomes whiskey. I lose my bourbon category. I lose my bourbon tag. So that's a very crash course, high level of bourbon. And Scotch is the same thing. Scotch is heavy peat instead of heavy corn and wheat, right?
What's peat? What's
peat? Is a grass. It's like a grass seed that they use that they grow over in Scotland. So if you actually ever go to any Scotch Again, I'm not a Scotch expert. So anybody who's listening who's a Scotch expert, I'm not a Scotch expert. I'm not a tequila expert. I'm not a beer expert. You're going to know more than me in those spaces. But you'll see them. They're actually chopping this like muddy peat, and it's got this grass in it, and that's the peat. It's the grain they use. We use 2 different types of corn. I'm not going to say the corns. We don't give out a recipe, but one of them is a very rare, hard to get corn. We use wheat and we use a little bit of barley, and those are the 4 grains that we use in our product.
Okay, and then you
guys.
No, you're good. No, you're good.
No, it's awesome. Like in my personal opinion, like I think it's really cool that you're actually like detailing everything, because it explains it, like breaking it down that way brings it to a more, I guess, like palatable understanding of what it is, because that was one of the things that's confused me, because like I'll drink like Angel's Envy or something like that, and now it makes sense why they're whiskey, because they're actually able to like change their barrels and stuff, where
that's right,
you're gonna stick with a certain type of barrel, the white oak.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. And
now,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So how do you, like, because you have a 94 proof and then 108 proof? So
explain that, like because you showed me that a little bit, because you had like a sample for me that was like what, 114 or 119 or something
I think I gave you 116, 118. So okay,
crazy.
Yeah, so that came straight from the barrel. So and yeah, you'll see us every now and then on our Instagram. You'll see us drilling a hole with a drill and pouring straight from the barrel and pulling out. So what you're getting into, we can talk about proofing, and then we can talk about cask strength. Let's start with cask strength. We'll start from the top and work our way down.
Because cask strength is straight from the barrel, correct?
Yes, in general, cask strength. The barrel is the cask. And so the reason I'm pausing is because there's some marketing bullshit that goes on. That's stuff that's maybe like 105 proof, and they call it cask strength, but it wasn't really cask strength. It's just super aggressive on the proofing. A lot of bourbons are in the 80s. And so what you do when bourbon is hot or strong, medicinal, the afterburn, the ethanol burn, all the stuff you're talking about, Austin, what you normally drink, the way you get around cheaper. I shouldn't say cheaper, because I'm not trying to diss anybody else's product. There's a lot of great product. By the way, there's a lot of $20 bourbon. You can't see my whiskey collection over here, but I drink $20, $30 bottles all the time. So it's not a matter of price. It's a matter of ingredients and quality and what they're doing. But the way that you soften a whiskey or a bourbon is by either putting water in it and you proof it down, right? You recask it and put it in some barrel that the wood. So when wood, the barrels, think of like, these are like what's called like the stives of the barrel. Okay. And they're all round. This is like the inside of a barrel, right? So they're sort of like round, but inside what happens is as wood gets hot, okay, it starts to open, the pores of the wood open. Right, and so the liquid goes in. Okay. So in the summertime, bourbon's going into the wood. Wood has sap and natural sugars and sweetness in it, right? That's all you taste in here. The sweetness you taste in here is from our grains and from the wood. And then when it gets cold, right, the wood closes and pushes the bourbon out. So it's coming in and out, 10 years, 12 years, 14 years, 8 years, whatever it is, right? Whatever you're aging it to when the baby's ready. So a particular product, it doesn't matter if it's 2 years or 10 years, it's when it tastes good for us. But that's what's going into the wood, in and out, in and out, in and out. When it sits in that barrel, okay, it's the longer it sits, the older the barrel, the older the bourbon, the higher proof of alcohol it gets. The concentration goes up. So you start getting bourbon that's in the 110s, 120s in the barrel. Now, bourbon has some regulations that it has to go in at a certain proof and it has to come out at a certain proof. You can't go above a certain proof. Then you're just getting into like, kerosene or some shit, So there's regulations that require that. So there's for bourbon. And so you have to keep, so there's all these regulations around bourbon, which is why bourbon is expensive, is because you have to do a whole lot to it to keep it pure, right? Same thing with scotch. So in the barrel, it's running, 110 to 120. I mean, we have some that are 100, we have some that's a little bit higher than that. but you want, but then you get it. If it starts getting too high of ethanol and too high of a proof, it can start to taste bad. You can start to overdo the product, and it starts to taste woody, and it starts to get really, really thick in the mouth. So depending on what you're going for, some people love that. So there are people out there, bourbon hunters, who like cask strength bourbon. They like high proof bourbon. Okay. But that doesn't mean they want to drink fire. That means they want to drink a really good high proof bourbon that is completely drinkable, right? That tastes awesome. It's a Ferrari. It's a fast car that's super comfortable to drive, right? Maybe that's an example. Sports cars aren't that comfortable. But this 108 proof, right, that we have, and the 94 proof. So our 94 proof starting out, this white label, this is already, 5 to 10 alcohol percentage proof by volume higher than most people drink. Most people enjoy a smoother tasting, less burning bourbon. And that's why it's in the 80s, because more people can drink it. If you can get a high proof bourbon that is enjoyable, now you've hit something. Now you're going to drive people crazy. It's a badass sports car that drives like a Mercedes, or I'm gonna get on my car guy. So people are probably going to chime in and say that this is a terrible example. But it's a badass car that's comfortable to ride. That's the art. And so when you can get a product that is super high proof coming out, at 108, 110, anything over 100, and you can tolerate it and not have to put a fire extinguisher in your mouth, then people go nuts. That's the holy grail. People are going after it. And that's what we seek to do, because we enjoy a high proof bourbon. So we've made this bourbon for ourselves. And it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. And so that's cask strength. So what I did for Rob when he came down to Houston, we're always pulling samples and tasting them and stuff. So I brought him some stuff straight from the barrel, which I like to drink straight out of the barrel. So when I'm at the distillery, I'll actually just pop in, pull it out, and pour it right into my glass, and I'll sip on 118 to 120 proof bourbon while we're at the distillery working. But that's me. Some people hate that, and it doesn't mean one's right or the other. You just like what you like. So what Rob's doing by putting ice in his glass is he's cooling, and I don't mean cooling because it's cold, but he's watering. That ice is melting off in the glass, and it's proofing down the bourbon. It's pulling it down some. So he doesn't necessarily like a high proof bourbon, but he likes our taste, but he needs it to come down a couple of gears. He needs it to drop down 10 miles an hour in the car. So he's taking it from 5th gear to 4th gear, right? That's what he's doing. He's pulling it down. And so it depends what some people like, Angel's Envy, they've got high proof, they got mid proof. It depends on what you like. So I don't know, I'm on a tangent there, so you guys can interrupt me and tell me.
No. To me, it's all fascinating. And like some of the stuff you've already went over with me, and, we had talked a couple of days ago about like what we were going to talk on the podcast about. And like, this is definitely one of those areas I think people that like enjoying whiskey, bourbon, scotch, or whatever will find interesting. So at minimum, I'm a fan of the information. So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
breaking it down. So that's the cask strength, and it doesn't make you a better whiskey drinker or more sophisticated because you like higher proof whiskey. It doesn't. Again, anybody tells you how to drink whiskey, you pay for it, you drink it the way you like it. Just don't put Coke in our stuff because you're wasting your money. You could put Coke in a creek.
I have to have ice. It's just
drink it.
It tastes like, I'm trying to think. So like the taste is good.
Let's do
I
this
think
real
it
quick,
goes
Rob.
into what you were saying. Huh?
Let's do this. You two guys take first off, take it. Okay, get your bourbon. Austin, you got some?
Yeah.
All right. So first thing, put it to your nose and open your mouth and breathe into.
Should I take my ice cube out?
No, it's already there.
Okay. So what am I doing?
Breathe in with your mouth closed first, Austin. Is yours all watered down too? Do you got a bunch of ice in yours?
Of course. I'm not gonna. No.
So
what am I doing? Because I just finished my second glass. I was supposed to only have one.
Damn it, Rob.
I'm gonna tell you guys. So take a fresh glass. Take that ice out of there, and take a whatever you're gonna do. Put Austin. I don't see you following along here.
Oh, go rid of ice.
Yeah. Rob,
My
pour some fresh. I know you're just drinking water now. You're drinking like 75, 80 proof, like watered down nothing. Go pour that out, Austin.
I have
fresh. Okay.
I have nothing in there. It's a fresh glass. It's a cold glass, but it's a fresh.
That's
glass.
fine. So pour some bourbon in there, and I'll go white label since you guys are doing it. Right?
Okay, how much?
I'll be back.
Just like
I'll have to go get
a little Peter bit.
Mine's in my kitchen.
Are you going to participate, Austin, or
I have to
we'll
go
continue?
get some. It's in
We'll
the kitchen.
continue.
Let's fucking go. Hurry up,
break his leg.
Austin. All right, we'll wait for him for a sec.
Okay, we can do that.
But-
So, yep.
We'll wait for him. We'll talk about something else for a minute or two. But
we can talk about the regulations, the hustle. And
yeah.
the
Talk about like the ATF stuff and a couple of things you were telling me when we met for the first time. Our listeners might be interested in that too.
Yeah, so I listen to you guys, and it's about the grind and the hustle, and people are trying to start their own businesses and things like that. And so it's not easy to do that, but the amount of regulations that go in from the federal government to prevent people, right? These go back to the old blue laws. Did you guys have blue laws? I'm a Texas. I'm a Southern Bible Belt. Okay, so blue laws were back in the day when you couldn't be open on Sunday. Nobody could be open on Sunday because you had to be at church. It's called blue law. So in the South, you had a lot of laws going back to prohibition that, that was sort of syntax, right? So gambling, tobacco, drinking, bars, things like that were sort of, the sins of the time. And they were heavily regulated. So if you wanted them, you could do them, but they're expensive and it takes a lot of work. So I was fortunate enough to partner with my best friend who happens to be a lawyer. And so, it takes probably, $250,000 in legal in time to get a license to operate a distillery. And you have to be federally regulated, by TTB, which is a version of the, I think it's IRS. They have TTB, which is tobacco. And anyways, I don't know the acronyms. My partner does. And then once you get regulated by the federal government, you have to then go get regulated by the state. So that's the Texas Alcohol, TABC, Texas Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which participated with the ATF on the Waco raids. So you'll see them whenever some redneck barricades himself in a hill with guns and explosive. That's the ATF and TABC, which is the alcohol licensing group. And so you got to get regulated there, and then you got to go get county approval, and you have to post these signs that are huge that say for like 2 months, it says, we intend to distill alcohol on this property. If you have any issues whatsoever, please call this number and raise a protest. So they make it very difficult for people to get into manipulating and alcohol, which is called rectifying, which is messing with alcohol or distilling. We have a license to allows us to distill, which is fresh from the grain to glass. And then you also have rectifying, which is taking other bourbons and mixing them and making something out of them. And you have to be licensed to do both of them. You can't handle big volumes of alcohol without having a license, both federally, state, and county.
Okay, and then you were talking about like the issues you had with the ATF.
Or we didn't have any issues with the ATF.
The process with the ATF.
Yeah, well, in TTB, the federal agency that regulates the alcohol and distilleries, we didn't really have. Wasn't so much issues. It just takes a long time. It took about 2 years of legal, processes and licensing and FDA approval. And, we'll be out at our barn working, and we'll have someone pull up and they'll have a gun and a badge on them, and they're going to do an inspection.
How often
stuff like that? Pretty, once, twice a year.
Oh, okay.
They just show up. They just show up and do an inspection.
Yeah, they don't show up announced.
No, not at all. So, and they show up and they're licensed and they're looking for you to be doing bad shit with alcohol. I mean, alcohol, tobacco, firearms, explosions. I mean, all these things happen. Bad things happen with all this kind of stuff, right? And so you have to, and all kidding aside, you have to really, we're making a product that people are consuming, and you're putting this in your body. And if somebody gets sick or dies, right, then we're liable for that. And so you have to really, sanitation. I mean, you can't just, this moonshiner shit that you see on TV, there's certainly that stuff people drinking out of a jug, but that's not going to go on any shelf anywhere. This is like, this is a federally regulated, state regulated, county regulated, health inspected regulated. And you have to, in order to get into this business, you got to be ready for a 2-year, $250,000 proceedings to do it. So anyways, I just thought as people that may not be into bourbon, but are into starting their own businesses and things like that, there's a lot of, a lot of stuff that goes into this and building a brand and those sort of things. So but let's get to the fun stuff. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can sort of smell. By the way, anybody who tells you how to smell bourbon, all this kind of, again, they're just so full of shit. Like it doesn't matter. Okay. But I'm going to show you a couple tricks that you can do that kind of smell or taste differently. So Austin still doesn't have it poured.
I do now.
Waiting on Austin.
Okay,
I will see
I'm
what
ready.
you go through. All right. So first, just close your mouth and just smell like you normally would, right? Just take it and like really get a good smell in, right? And so what happened?
I smell ethanol.
Did it hit your eyes?
It
What do you
smells
smell?
like almost like caramel and like almost like caramel popcorn or like.
That's funny you say that. So that's popcorn with some spice is actually part of the tasting note.
It's a sweet.
Yeah.
And again, there's no sugar in there. There's nothing in here. Okay.
That's crazy.
Now take it. Okay. Open your mouth like this. Just go, and then smell in.
It's a whole different smell.
Not drink it.
Would you
Rob.
describe it as, Austin?
Rob, smell it, not drink it. Open your mouth and take a big whiff. He opened his
Rob's
mouth.
like, okay.
He opened his mouth and poured alcohol in. Do you smell that difference? You get that?
Yeah, it does smell
Did the
different.
alcohol burn go away? You smell how sweet it is?
Yeah, there's a whole different smell when you actually open your mouth.
There you go.
It's
So
not
that's
as
number
strong.
one.
Like when you have your mouth closed, it's a lot sharper and stronger. And when you open your mouth, it's a lot softer.
So you can do that with wine. You can do that, but that gets you a much deeper sensory smell of it. Now taste it.
Now, does aerating go into bourbon, or is that just a wine thing?
I've never seen anybody aerate bourbon.
Oh, I don't know. Because I've heard of like sloshing around in your mouth to get like.
Well, that's because you're hitting your different tongue pieces. So take a sip the way you would normally take it, right? So just take a sip the way you would drink it. Don't think about it. Just do it. There, you're sloshing. You don't drink it that way, Austin. You just drink it and slam it.
Yeah,
now you're
sure.
sloshing because you're on camera. So when you take it and you swash it, you're going to hit the sides of your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the front of your tongue. You're at the roof of your mouth. I mean, as the bourbon's going down, all these things, obviously. And you'll get it in the throat, right? So that's called the mouthfeel, the throat. Again, you don't have to worry about any. You don't have to know any of this shit. Anybody like listening, watching, you don't have to know any of this stuff to enjoy bourbon. So
you just gotta drink it.
As you slowly drink it, though, you'll start to taste, especially with no ice in it, just straight. You'll get it, and you'll hit both sides of your tongue. You'll hit different things. You may get some up in your sinuses. It'll come down your throat. All those things. What it should do is not burn. That's the burning is to get burning away at this proof is really, really hard. That's what we spend a lot of time. That's what we spend a year and a half on. Now, do you have your ice there or water? So what I do is a trick. I was showing Rob this is, so you can take this. This is just Texas rainwater. There's nothing in this, right. And you can literally. What I would do
is just put
drops. So literally, it's just a couple. You probably can't see. You literally just go like that, okay, and then you swirl it, okay? And I wish y'all were doing this. I should have told you ahead of time because you would taste the whole difference in it. So now, when you drink it, it actually opens it up. It opens it up and it makes it sweeter for hours.
Yeah.
I'm not putting ice in it. I'm diluting it, by 10% or whatever. And I'm using rainwater. I'm not using faucet water. I'm not using well water. I'm not using
water.
If you got an $80 bottle of bourbon and you're out in the rural parts of Texas and you put well water in it with lots of minerals and calcium and all that shit, you just threw ketchup all over a really good steak, so you can really fuck it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible that all this stuff.
I mean, he kind of has to because he makes this product.
I didn't know. This has been something we've learned. I mean, we were just drunks that like bourbon.
What was the moment, like the aha moment, like we're gonna get into bourbon?
Well, there wasn't like an aha moment. It was a process,
Mm-hmm.
So I had some friends and that were in sort of in the bourbon distilling. They had some recipes and some things, and we started off kind of talking with them about working with them. It didn't work out with those guys, and so we ended up continuing down and found a new distiller and some stuff like that. So we started off with sort of having friends who really liked it and thought we could help them with all the other stuff that we bring to the table. And so that just sort of launched us off into this path. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was really a chance for. So my partner Pete, we've been best friends since 13 years old, and we went to college and then sort of had our families and kids. There's a good 10, 15 years of where you're sort of out doing kid stuff and raising kids and your life and paying your mortgage and working on your career and spring breaks and summer trips and all that kind of stuff. And then your kids start to get where they're 13, 14, 15, 16. They start to kind of where they're now getting on their own and doing their own stuff, and they don't need you as much. And so then it's like, okay, well, now I don't want to just be a dad all day. I want to now go back to like, what do I want to do as a person again? And, and you're sort of that second career. And so this was a chance for us to get together and do something we really liked. And his family had the property and he was a lawyer and I'm in sales and marketing. So it just kind of all just like, smashed together and we ended up, doing this thing. So.
Okay. And then, is there any future plans for Sisterdale you can talk about?
Nope. We're closing shop tomorrow.
Give me the last year barrels.
Just send us the barrels.
Yeah, so these two products are, our white and our blue, which I keep showing, I can see them. Yeah, Think about it this way. If these two, I'm going off camera. There we go. If these two smash together, okay, this, high-end, high expensive proof product smashed together and had a baby, kind of a rebel wild child. If they had, a younger, less mature festival day drinker kind of product baby, we've been on that path lately. And so we've been working to kind of find. So
is that gonna be a lower proof?
It will be. It'll be a lower proof. It'll be a lower price point. If we can, so all these things I'm saying, I'm going to tell you. So we're working on like 3 things right now. And none of them are guarantees. If they don't taste delicious, we're not going to put it out.
Right. You're not going to settle.
Yeah. So we're working on sort of a day drinker for those products that you could, take and put in your pack. You could throw some Coke in it if you want. You could, you throw ice in it, all that kind of stuff. It's not the sophisticated bourbon. It's more of a day drinking bourbon, but still really high quality bourbon. Knob Creek's one like that. Angel's Envy has it. High West. There's a lot of really good. Buffalo Trace has a lot of really good products. Weller that are sort of these $30, $40 really good products. The second thing we're working on is a rye, which I am really after. I'm kind of spearheading that. My partner doesn't really like rye that much. I love it. So me and our distiller are working on a rye. It's been 6 months. I almost brought some for Rob to taste, but it's just not ready yet. So we haven't got it there. We're close. We're probably 70-80% there. And so, the first products took us a year and a half to get there. So we'll see. We're trying to get it out by summer. If we can get it right, we'll do it. But the baby comes out when the baby's ready, right? You give birth when it's ready. And then we're working on some, we're going to call distiller experimental series. And these will be like a red label product for us that is sort of, 2 or 3 barrels that we have that taste a certain way. And we'll put them out sort of, once, twice, 3 times a year that may not taste the same year, release after release, but it's sort of it's like when you go into a chef and say, let the chef choose what I'm going to eat tonight. That's what we're going to do, maybe once or twice a year. And only put out, 1,000 bottles or something like that.
Right. Those are going to be like limited edition, special collection.
Yeah. And, we're trying not to make it where it's like expensive, like super, limited edition, barrel select, all that kind of crap that everybody, because we really want people to enjoy our product. And these will be sort of single barrel or a grouping of a couple of barrels that don't quite taste like blue label, don't quite taste like white label. We may manipulate them a little bit, mess with them, rectify them a little bit, proof them down, and then put them out as sort of our experimental, bourbon. So we're kind of working on a green label, which is the rye, red label, which is the experimental, and then some version of this white and blue if they had a younger product. So that's what we're working on.
Okay. And then are you always going to stay on bourbon or are you going to go in your other track?
Right now, we're only interested in bourbon.
Okay.
So this is another lesson, right? Like it's so tempting to go do vodkas and gins because, all these other things. There's plenty of other people that are way ahead of us that do that. And we're a craft distillery. So we're not, it's like a craft beer, we're not Jack Daniels. We're so far, that's 200 years ago. So we're so far behind that we're not trying to do that. We just want to make our stuff and make it for the people. We make it for ourselves first. We hope we can sell enough that people care about it to pay for our alcohol problem and keep drinking. But that's really what we do. So we really do make this for ourselves. And if Pete and I won't drink it, and we say this all the time, if we won't drink it, and if I wouldn't pay $80 for it, I'm not going to ask you to. So that's what we're behind. We're not doing this to get rich. We'd love to, if somebody wants to buy us, we'd be happy to talk. Because we're not in it to be poor either. But this is just like the Invicta coffee stuff. I mean, this is like something we like doing, and we really, we do it for ourselves at this point in our lives because it's something we want to drink. If it tastes like shit, if it's a fraud, if it's burning, if it's overpriced, like we're just not going to do it. There's plenty of that on the market already. You don't need us to do it. I don't need to spend my nights on podcasts at almost 10 o'clock at night to give you shitty product that you could buy already.
Right. For sure. Okay. And then, so let's sidetrack. So let's get into Chad. So you said you do AI, right? AI software?
I do. Yeah. I work for software companies. I do startups is my day job and my lifelong, career. And I do sales and marketing, distribution and go to market around, companies that are launching products around artificial intelligence is what I do. And I used to do cybersecurity, which I know Rob is in. And then prior to that, I did, systems management stuff. So Rob's taken off I think Rob's quitting. I'm not sure what's going on.
No, yeah, he has to take Ali out. He'll be back.
Am I the new full-time host?
How long he'll be gone is who knows. I mean, he's broken, so he could be gone for 5 minutes or 2 hours.
He is a broken man. So he just normally get up in the middle of podcasts and walk out? Is that what he does?
He sent me a message saying he had to take Ali out.
Oh, it says pray for me. I see that. Yeah. Well, we are an hour and 30 minutes in. So
yeah.
What is the record? What is the record length y'all have done?
I think 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay. So we will not go 2.5 hours. So me, I'll give you a quick rundown of me. I mean, so I'm a fifth generation native Texan. So if you ever find a native Texan, you ask them about Texas, it's like you just open a can of worms. It's going to go on for the next 3-4 hours. But I'm born and raised in Texas, and 3 kids. My oldest is in college at Texas Tech University. He loves the fact that I have a bourbon business. His fraternity loves business and finance and real estate and
Same thing.
Yeah. He's going to school for partying, drinking, and having a great time on dad's time.
Of course.
He's living the best life that I can afford for him is what he's
right.
Yeah. So and then I have
all the bourbon.
Yeah. They keep asking for it. I'm like, I'm not having you guys chug my shit and Coke at the fraternity house. Like that's not happening. Right. And then I have a junior in high school, and then I have a boy, and then I have a 14-year-old daughter who is also driving me to drinking. So for all of you dad,
I'd say especially
dads out there, it's tough. It's really freaking. So what I call children is social terrorists. So for all your military people out there, you'll enjoy this. Rob's never heard me say this. This would be a good one. But so kids are like terrorists, right? So they embed themselves in the community, which is your house, and they endear themselves. They look like everybody else. They come and go every day. They have, they sort of look like normal people passing through. And just when you get comfortable, bam, a car bomb goes off, right? An explosion happens, right? That's particularly my daughter, right? So some emotional outburst happens, right? It's like, oh my God, I'm going to this, or I'm fat, or I'm this, or I'm ugly, or nobody, all these things, right? They just, just explode, right? And so, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, where did they come from, right? There was the enemy right below your nose. You didn't even see them, right? They're right there. So that's kids. They're social terrorists, and they take their toll on the community around. So, yeah. So for all you out there who don't have kids, there's your warning. For all you who have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't. Me and Rob don't have kids, so I can't relate. Okay, so and then I think, like I said, I think AI is super fascinating, especially with the world, especially the world we live in today. What are your thoughts on? Do you think AI is going to be the future, or what are your thoughts on that?
So this is like a long conversation.
That's
there's a whole other podcast. So is AI the future? AI is here now.
Well, yeah, 100% it is.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like saying, do you what do you think about the current state of politics? I mean, it's like, that's a huge question that could go another hour and a half. But I've been in AI I worked at IBM Watson. I was in the first 400 employees at IBM Watson. There's now, I don't know, 10,000 employees or something. I've worked for some AI.
Why is Rob crawling?
First off, he's probably on painkillers. Secondly, he's drinking high proof alcohol.
He's not on painkillers. He doesn't
He'll be able to sleep tonight for sure.
I don't know why he was crawling. I don't know what is going on with Rob.
Yeah, I did. So, and I was big in cybersecurity stuff too, which I know is what Rob does for his. By the way, wait till he gets his headphones on, but I want to talk about this job he has.
Yeah, he does. He does security for the national park.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's the real. Let's see if he gets his headphones on here.
Oh, okay. Why were you crawling on the floor, Rob?
So earlier, when I was taking care of ALY, aka Allie, I ran over the cord for my headphones, and it got like wrapped in the fucking wheels to my chair. So I've been trying to get it undone. So I was crawling over to it because I was afraid it was going to fall over doing it on crutches. I was trying to do it out of camera range, but then I looked up and saw you guys laughing.
I was like, why is he crawling on the floor?
All right.
So we were just talking about AI getting into cybersecurity, and I was going to say, I'm not sure that you actually work for the park service. Like last time I saw you on Instagram, you look like you're building a sniper's nest. So I think this is a CIA cover up, some kind of.
Ironically, I almost did work for them, but this is not.
So he actually turned down a job for that agency.
Yeah, but he's out in the Grand Canyon working for a government agency doing park stuff. Like Rob, this seems to me like, I mean, like I've been around enough to know that are you guys waterboarding people out there? What is going on exactly? And you got this Tesla, satellite now, and you got like why do you have sandbags all around your house? Like these sandbags and camo tarps. I don't understand what's going on.
We're securing the park.
Yeah. So anyway, So Austin was asking about AI, and I was like, that's a whole nother hour and a half deal. But AI is, is part of everybody's lives. People don't realize it, right? But I mean, if you say the word Nike shoes, and then you go on Instagram and Nike ad pops up, then everything. That tells you everything you needed. If you're playing Xbox and you're talking on Xbox Live and you're with Sony PlayStation, which I've worked with, and you're talking to them and you're talking about your buddies wanting a pizza, and all of a sudden you get a Domino's ad. Like that's not a coincidence. That's AI working.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah. I love it, by the way. People are freaked out by it, and probably a lot of your audience are like super anti, Big Brother and government, but I love AI. It makes my life easy. Like if you want to go look at the porn, that I've downloaded or not downloaded, but watched, and you want to see my spending habits, knock your lights out. That stuff, that's been American Express already has all that. So Netflix. So I have nothing to hide. You can watch if you want to spend your days looking at the porn and the stuff that I'm buying, that's fine.
Wait, you're paying for it? You realize it's free on
No. That's what I meant. That's what I meant. Like, if you don't think that people that are anti sort of AI or anti, your computer learning you and things, it's like,
oh yeah,
what do you have to hide? You think anybody cares about what porn you're watching? You think anybody cares about how much
you carry an AI device in your pocket 99% of the time,
all day long. You're geo-tracking. Absolutely. Yeah. We actually do advertisement. So this is to tie this back to bourbon. So and talk about Spencer, so when we do our big ad pushes around the holidays, we actually target not only zip codes and people based on who they look at, and there's all kinds of like profiles. Right. This is AI. Like, do you look at Lucchese boots, or do you look at Ferrari? Do you look, whatever it is, your indicators, right? Fishing, hunting, whatever it is you're looking at. But we also can track geospatial when you're close to one of our stores that sells our alcohol. So we actually can upload all of the key stores that are in the high end neighborhoods that when people are driving by on their Instagram and using Waze or using Google Maps or whatever, and we can actually hit them when they're within like a 2-mile radius of one of our premium stores that carries our alcohol, that says, hey, check out Sisterdale. And just so happens that you're within a mile or so of the liquor store. So if you don't think that your phone is not actively watching, listening, tracking, that's AI today. And we use it in advertising for the Sisterdale. So, so if you drive by one of our liquor stores, you're going to get hit with one of our ads that says, "Hey, are you thirsty?"
How many liquor stores are you in?
In Texas, we were in 180 at last count, but we've added another probably 50 or 60 in the last two and a half months. So far this year, whatever we're in, April, 3 months. So, give or take, 200 stores. And then we're online in 45 states. We're not in Alaska or Hawaii. It would cost you $300 to ship a $80 bottle.
I'm sure.
And then the M states, states with M's don't allow it. Louisiana doesn't allow it, and Utah, it's a federal offense to ship alcohol into. It's a felony to ship alcohol into Utah. So if you're in those states,
I'm sorry,
you can't
drive over to Arizona.
Oregon doesn't. Oregon,
or give it to me, Chad, and I'll drive it up in there. I won't.
I've sent you stuff, but you just said you guzzled 2 bottles. This stuff 2 or 3 bottles should last you like 2 years.
No. So all right. In my defense, I drank the bottle that I bought, and this is that second bottle that you sent me. Plus, I have that one other bottle, and I still have 2 of the tasters. I'm not like
but that bottle I sent you, that was like a week ago, 2 weeks ago.
I like your bourbon a lot. I'm sorry, my bad.
Hey man, no, it's great. That's fantastic. But that's 94 proof, jet fuel you're drinking there.
It's really good.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We should.
So what else? What else? Anybody? Yeah, go ahead, Rob. What else? Did anybody?
I was gonna say, when you and I talked on the phone the other day, there was a couple things that we wanted to make sure we covered on the podcast, and it was definitely mental health. It was the process, the entrepreneur stuff that you did. Is there anything that you have on your side of the house that you think you still want to talk about, or did you want to get into ATI? How are you feeling?
So there's one thing I want to cover though.
Oh shit. Well,
so I was one question I have.
You didn't let him answer though.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So how about you let our guests talk? You don't be fucking rude.
Says Rob. Says Rob on a 30-minute rant about telling the guy to go fuck himself.
Who just leaves us? Jeez.
Yeah.
My dog had to pee.
Yeah. No. So to answer the question, I mean, I think we've exhausted the podcast time. I mean, I don't know how long your people listen, but this has been fun for me, and I think we flew by a lot of topics there. The big thing was to support you guys. You've got your service dog, Rob, that I see in the background. Just coming on and sort of saying thank you and supporting. I mean, that's a big deal, man. You've been through a lot, and to have a dog that helps you cope, whatever that is, whether it's walking, marching, hiking, whatever it is people do to make their lives, to get through. That's a big deal for us. So, nope, I think we hit it all. We didn't get into too much of the marketing.
What do you have for a question? And let's get into ATI.
There was one thing I want to ask you, Chad, and it was like, I guess, what was the hardest time or most difficult time you had since starting like Sisterdale?
In my life or as a company?
As a company.
There's been, so we've been at this, like I said, since 2018. We formed the company in 2019. We released our first product in, the end of 2020. So, there was a good 2 years there of going through there's a couple phases to launching a product, right? So, people think, just because you're ready to do something, you think 3 months later, you're going to be launching a company, and it doesn't work that way. No. There's a lot that goes into companies, whether you're doing a small company out of your garage or whatever. So there's probably been like maybe twice in the it's been 4 years, maybe 2018. Yeah, I guess so. There's probably been twice where me and my partner were like, are we going to keep doing this? You know, is this worth it? The chips are stacked against us. We recently, we'll get into, I got to think about what I've had a few bourbons. I got to think about what I'm going to say, but we recently had someone who came to us and said that they may or may not own the rights to some of our branding. And, you know, came to us with a lawyer and stuff. And so there's just stuff like that where you know, and so what I said to my partner was, and this was in the last, you know, 30, 60 days, whatever. And, but I said to my partner, I go, well, I guess we know we've made it when people want to start coming after us and taking what we have, right? When when people start threatening you with lawsuits, then you finally have made it. But you know, stuff like that, when we're just trying to grind, and you know, we take a lot of care, especially on the legal side, because my partner's a lawyer. We take a lot of research and care in our naming and our you know trademarking and all the things that we do, the people that we work with. We try our best to be honest and fair and still run a business. But there are a lot of people out there who want a lot of shit for free, or you know, want a lazy way out, and you become under attack. And for me, Pete, my partner, is a lawyer. It's just every day for him because he's in legal proceedings every day. For me, it like hurts my feelings. You know, I take it very personal that someone
you work so hard on.
Well, and that someone would think that I'm trying to cheat them, or someone thinks that, you know, that I offended them, or someone thinks that, you know, whatever, that I hurt someone's feelings. And I don't mean like that's soft to you. I just mean like that someone thinks that my intentions were ill will. That really hurts me internally as a person, because I try to be very positive, and I try to be very, you know, open and nice and caring and giving and a good human. I try to be a good human. And so that stuff takes its toll on me. I lose sleep over things like that. And I think you guys have a shirt, which you could send me for free, even though I said, like, yeah, I hate when people ask me for free, but that shirt you guys have that says not all wounds are visible, or,
why don't we just send them both? We have the not all wounds
Austin,
are visible, and we have be a good human.
What Rob, what was the one that says not all wounds are visible?
Not all wounds are visible is a joint collaboration between Austin and I, and then I have one that's called "Be a Good Human." So I think that kind of hits both.
Those are really big to me. You know, and I'm not a perfect human being. I'm not always, you know, business is business. It can be cutthroat, but I never try to screw anybody. And so that's number one. So just be a good human being. Put out good shit, and good shit comes back. Put out nasty stuff comes back. But that not all wounds are visible. Like I saw that in y'all's thing, and that one really, like, you know, hit me hard. And because there's so many people, including myself, that have wounds that aren't visible. Yeah. So like if we could, if there's one thing, if one person, you know, if you affect one person, then you're better off today than you were yesterday. So that made me get teary eyed.
Yeah. I mean, and there's plenty of like times where like me and Rob have talked, where like people don't see Rob as a real, like, I guess, like veteran or combat veteran, because he's not like missing a leg.
Is that because he served in the Coast Guard?
Yeah. Okay.
No, he was Calf Scout. And
I probably just offended a lot of Coast Guard people, which my younger brother was thinking about going. So it's a joke.
I mean, his favorite thing ever is Calf Scouts, so it's okay.
No, fuck that. I was infantry.
But yeah, no, like I said, that shirt hits home to like not only you, Chad, but me, Rob, and a lot of other people, because, you know, like I was saying, me and Rob have talked about, like, a lot of people don't see him as injured because he's not missing a leg, he's not missing an arm, he's not, you know.
Well, I interrupt you, but I could tell you at that breakfast where he and I sat there and I was watching him, right? I'm very observant of people's behavior, and Rob,
you can say what you said when I went to the bathroom. You can go ahead.
What did I say? I don't remember what did I say?
I guess you told Amanda while I was going to the bathroom. Looks like Rob's struggling with the conversation or something like that. Like it was a lot.
I could see your brain pausing.
Yeah.
And at one point you like even stopped and you kind of like leaned forward, right? And by the way, I'm a lot to like take, as Rob said, I'm a lot to take on. But I was looking at him at one point, and I'm like, I'm wearing this guy out. And not only was I wearing him out, but he stopped. And Rob, you paused and you went forward, and you were kind of looking down at the table, and I was sitting across from him, and he's just looking down, and it was like a glitch happened. He had a glitch. His brain wasn't. It just glitched. It was like blue screen, green screen or whatever. And so I saw that. I'm like, and he's had brain injuries, and so you can see when you're talking to someone like Rob, right, that they have things and they hit glitches in their brains where it's just like he just stopped. He paused for like a minute. It wasn't even a minute. It was probably like 10 seconds, but it felt like a long pause because he checked out of the conversation for like it just glitched. And then I asked him, and by the way, Rob, I hope I'm very
No, just go ahead.
I'm an open book. And so I was like, Rob, tell me about your he said, I had a brain injury, and he kind of told me like, I need a pause because this is a lot. I need a break, which by the way, I get told from people who don't have brain injuries, tell me that as well. So I get it. But then he told me, I just blot out, like, tell me about your injuries. I just sort of like, I'm not sensitive to that. Don't think about it because I'm just an open book myself. And he's talking about his head smashed into he had whatever you call him, a striker. Again, I'm not a military guy, but blew up and his head freaking hit the thing, and a thing smashed off the wall and smashed him in the head. And I'm just like, holy shit, like that's a major. That's major shit. And so if you look at him, he's a fun-loving guy. He's he's whatever, all this stuff, the mullet and all the deal that he talks, but he's got a brain injury. He's got brain damage. He's got internal wounds. And again, Rob didn't tell me that he's killed anybody or had trigger time but combat by itself, whether, and then you have all the bravado guys who goes, well, I never stopped and asked them, look back to see if I killed him, whatever. But whether you kill anybody or not, if you're firing weapons in a combat and you're worried about getting shot yourself, and that goes on for an extended period of time, that's traumatic. That most humans don't do that.
Oh yeah, just being shot at in general is
most humans don't go, I wake up today and I don't know if I'm gonna get shot after breakfast. Like that doesn't happen.
Unless you live in LA.
Right. Unless you live in LA.
Or Chicago.
Right. So when you say most, all wounds aren't visible, like that's true. And by the way, that could be someone who was sexually abused. That could be someone who's family separated. That could be someone. There's all kinds of things that there's verbal abuse that people take. There's all kinds of things as a child things. So I'm on a rant now, but
no, you're good.
Stop.
No,
I don't have a brain injury, but I'll stop. But
like me and Rob talked about, like PTSD isn't just for veterans, isn't just for people in the military.
Absolutely.
Like people, I mean, granted, you think PTSD, and most people think of the military, think of veterans, think of people, but PTSD is anybody and everybody. Like anybody, any walk of life can have PTSD from any traumatic experience or just any experience in general.
Right. And I'm not one of those people. And again, I don't want to offend people, but I'm not one of those people that think that like, it's also like, there's a lot of people that are super soft. Like everybody's, there's so many people that just claim these things or claim that they have a disability or claim that, oh my God, I have PTSD because I had to wait in traffic or whatever. Like that also is offensive to the people who really have it.
100%.
But post-traumatic stress based on stress is up to you and what your brain thinks is stressful, and what you think, Austin, is different than what Rob thinks and what I think. I mean, what I think is stressful is a business deal. You guys have been in combat. So it's like, that's a whole different deal, right? Now you having to go talk to Google about $100 million deal and might be stressful to you. So, which is fun for me. So anyways, I don't know where we're going with this, but just the whole thing about the wounds are not always visible is a big deal. And that was the number one thing I wanted to, that's why I want to participate with you guys. That's why I want to hang out with your audience. That's why when the George the Sailor and these guys are following us, like I'm honored that those people, think about us and like our product enough, and hopefully think that we give a shit about them as much as we can. We do.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's one of the reasons why we wanted you on here, is because you care, you don't just, you show that you care, not, like I said, not just with your words, but with your actions.
Yeah. And our company, like even Heartwater I was talking about, like this, the guy that owned that's a husband and wife, Michael, who's one of the husband, he doesn't drink alcohol, and we have an exclusive deal with them. We only use their rainwater. He has over 100 recovery centers in Texas to help people recover from addiction.
That's awesome.
And so we want to participate with their company because they I want to buy their water exclusively for our bourbon because it's good. It's really good.
And your money goes to a good place.
That's right. So back to like putting our money where our mouth is, like we really want to do that stuff. And I hope that's what people take away is that, we're again, it's a little bit of guilt, a little bit of payback, those people who've served and those people, whether they're firemen. My dad was a fireman. My grandfather was a fireman. My grandfather, watched and smelled a burning car with a human that was stuck in, and his hands burned. And from that point on, he could never eat chicken again. My grandmother told me this. My grandfather never talked about it. My grandmother, the smell of burning flesh. And he has, and that generation, they just didn't talk about it. They just went back home
no,
and
not at
sucked
all.
it up,
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff. People think firemen are running around, they watch people die. They watch people burn.
100%.
It's
that's
brutal.
Just like, like I said, just like, cops and nurses and doctors and firemen and everybody.
Teachers.
Yeah, I mean,
the stuff that teachers see. My wife was a teacher. The things that they see in poverty schools where kids are starving.
Oh yeah,
they have lice. They haven't bathed. They don't know where their food is going to come from if it's not from the school. Yeah, it's brutal.
Yeah, and like I said, and nobody.
On that note, drink up.
Right, and nobody thinks about that though because they only think about like the few that they see or they know about it in the back of their head, but they don't actually think about it.
That's right. So if you could just be a kind human being and know that somebody like this guy that fought Rob, maybe that guy was having a bad day. Maybe he's got post-traumatic stress. Maybe it triggered him. I don't know. But if we could all just be a little kinder and then maybe the world's a little bit better place tomorrow than it was today.
Right. You got anything else, Rob? Hello, Rob. Hello.
I couldn't get off mute. No, I think those are all very good points, and it's we've covered it time and time again about the whole not all wounds are visible, and just be a good person, and that's why we definitely wanted you on the podcast. That's why I think you and I clicked well outside of the podcast, Chad. And we definitely appreciate your time. I'm good with getting into ATI since we're pushing like 2 hours here. I mean, like Chad was concerned we were only going to be able to go for like 45 minutes, but we came up with some stuff. I'm happy with this podcast.
Yeah, it's a good podcast.
Yeah. So unless you got anything else that you want to plug, Chad, like I say, we get straight into ATI.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. I'll hit it first. Would you rather drink ketchup through a straw or eat mayo with a spoon?
So hold on. So first off, I've seen this. I've seen you guys podcast. Did y'all make these weak because I was coming on?
Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, we want you to not get canceled. We like your whiskey. We would like to keep drinking it. We can find you a fucked up one.
We can give you super fucked up ones.
Not super fucked up. Very fucked better than that. I mean, you're asking me ketchup and straw. I mean, you're like, there's gonna be a little bit higher degree better than that.
Okay, we'll find you one.
Find him one, Austin. Well, he answers that, and I'll answer it.
Okay, so
I'll even read the next one.
Yeah, let's go to the next one. That one's like.
We still have to answer.
I have to answer.
All right. So the question was: drink ketchup through a straw or what?
Eat mayo with a spoon.
I don't know. Probably ketchup, I guess.
Yeah, same. I fucking hate mayonnaise. What about you, fucking mayonnaise boy?
See, I like mayonnaise, but I don't know if I could eat it with a spoon. That's a lot of mayonnaise.
That's a lot of mayonnaise. I'd
probably do ketchup.
All right. Well, you're finding a really fucked up one. I'm going to go on to the next one.
Not really.
Where'd it go? All right. Would you rather swim with a shark or spend a night in the forest with a mountain lion?
Probably mountain lion. It's the same.
Okay.
Those are the same. You're both in their domains. They're both predators. They're both probably more scared of you than you are of them.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you're bleeding, neither one of them are probably going to mess with you.
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Plus, you can actually like run away from a mountain lion, like trying to outswim a shark. It's fucked.
Yeah, you could choke a mountain lion or hit it in its eyes. A shark, you don't have any leverage in the water.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with, even though I love sharks and I've actually cage dived with great white sharks, I'm gonna go with the mountain lion as well, mainly because I want video of it. I have no video or pictures of mountain lions, and I've only seen them once.
In the Grand Canyon, you don't see them rolling around through there?
We have I think 23 that are currently tagged out here, but they have a 200-mile radius, so they come and go out of the park as they please. So yeah, I'm doing mountain lion. What about you, Austin?
I'm gonna do forage with mountain lion because it's a lot easier to survive in the forest than it is in the ocean.
That's true.
Okay.
Your skin's better, everything. Yep.
Yeah, way easier.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to the third softball one, and then we'll get into those two hard ones that you just added.
Okay.
Read it.
Oh, would you rather have a dog that looks like a baby or a baby that looks like a dog?
Dog that looks like a baby. You don't want an ugly kid.
Yeah, that's easy.
Nobody likes to do business. Nobody does business with ugly people.
I agree.
Then why do we have Rob on here now?
I was gonna say, what are you talking about?
Okay. So one of the fucked up ones is, would you rather have a threesome with 2 4 feet tall women or 2 7 feet tall women?
Okay, I gotta think about this. Okay, 2 4 feet or 2 7 feet. That's the choice.
Yeah.
7 feet's a lot, but 4 feet there's complications. I mean, I'm a big man. I'd have to go 7 just for physics. just for some logistics.
Shit.
What do you pick, Rob? I don't remember what you picked last time. So.
I don't remember what I picked last time either, because I do remember this question. Amanda, know that I care about you.
Come on, this guy.
Answer these questions.
This guy.
All right, so I'm gonna go with the 4 feet tall women because I've never had sex with a midget, and I think to have a threesome with midgets, pretty hype.
You can't call them midgets anymore. You got to call them little people.
Oh, little people. Yeah, I forgot. We're trying to not get you canceled.
Politically correct.
Yeah.
The little people, the midgets, they're little.
The midgets, they're little. I think I'm gonna go with the same. I think we're going to go the same. I'm not a fan of really tall women, so I'm gonna go with little people.
Okay, fair enough. All right. Would you rather pee dry sand for the rest of your life or poop a hard brick every time? Oh my god, I can't fucking read, Austin. Please read that.
I get the gist.
Would you rather pee dry sand for the rest of your life or poop a hard brick once every year on your birthday?
Oh, it's only once a year? Well,
this became enticing.
Yeah, 1 year you get only once a year. You can deal with the pain once a year. Now, the peeing sand for the rest of your life. Well,
what would that feel like?
That pain would be less, I think, than the hard brick. The hard brick, you're gonna have tears.
Yeah,
you're gonna have rips, and that could be more painful than just having dry pee. I don't know. I mean,
it's tough, right?
It's what size is the brick? Are we talking?
Like a standard,
a standard brick.
No, see that would do so much damage. You'd be in diapers. You got to go pee.
What are you gonna pick, Rob?
I'm pissing sand. I can't have anything coming out my butthole or come in my butthole that big.
you'd be in diapers. You'd have to have mesh. That would be rough. Yeah.
What about you, Austin? You're shitting a brick. I see you.
Always, all the time. That's normal for me every day. No,
I was gonna say you take big shits. I bet.
No, I'm gonna go with dry sand for sure. I don't want to. That would be terrible on the inside.
Yes, you would have so much damage, so much post damage.
You get PTSD just from that.
Yeah, I'm thinking about this.
Not all wounds are visible unless you pull down my pants.
That's right.
My asshole was ruined.
Oh man.
All right. Well, on that note,
All right, I think we should wrap this motherfucker up. Is there anything else either one of you want to plug? Otherwise, I'm going to close this out. Chad, stick around for a sec. Yeah, you got anything, Austin?
Nope, I think you're good, man.
Chad, anything?
In the words of Ellen DeGeneres, be kind to one another.
Didn't she like beat the shit out of her like employees or something like that, like verbally? Okay,
Allegedly.
Cool. So now we're gonna get verbally abused when we get off the podcast. So cool. That's nice to know. Thank you for everyone that joined us on the Fight Like Hell episode 53, I think it is.
It's 54,
we appreciate you guys. Make sure you go on Spotify and give us a rating. Make sure you follow, unfollow, do all that stuff. We're actually in the top 10% podcasts in the world right now. Help us move up to like 9%, and we'd appreciate that. So thank you for joining us. Chad, thanks for being our guest. Stick around. We love you guys. Peace.